But slowly over the last few years, everything's becoming digital. So did you know that only 1% of the money out there in the system, so dollars, let's say $100 notes, $5 notes, $10 notes, whatever, did you know that only 1% of that is actually in the format of physical money that you can get out? The other 99% of it is just digits in a ledger. If you go to the bank and ask, you might have $100,000 in your bank account. You go to the bank and say, can I please have $100,000? They give you a million questions. Why do you want the money? What are you going to do with it? All that sort of stuff. And they treat you like a criminal. It's not your money, right? If the money is in the bank and you can't get it out, it's not yours. It's the system, right? And we're heading into a world where they're trying to remove the fact that you can actually get access to that money. So we're heading into a totally cashless society. And as we enter into the phase of a cashless society, the money is never yours. It's just purely there in the ledger. I believe that we're heading into that. We can very clearly see that we're heading into a digital currency. It's been here for a long time, whether it be your credit card, your FPOS card, whatever you want to call it. Now you've got the Apple Pay, you've got apps, you can send it straight away. People don't use cash anymore. They say, oh, there's a disease, you might get sick, you might die, all these sorts of things, but they don't care when you're entering the buttons on the touchpad on the FPOS machine or whatever when you're handing it over. But that might change, right? It might change where you do like a Demolition Man style. If you watch Demolition Man, Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes from back in, I think, 1993 or 1994, you know what I'm referring to. That is the world we are heading into. A totalitarian, Orwellian, fascist, controlled world is where we're heading into. We're going to be entering into just digital currency. So let's think about this, right? In China, there's a social credit system. China is communism, right? Like it or not, that's what it is. The system is based on social credits. You're a good boy, you get a little treat, like you're a dog. You're a bad boy, you lose the fact that you can feed your family, right? All your rights have gone. It comes down to this computer system, which is delivering whether you should live, whether you shouldn't, whether you get food, whether you don't, whether you can participate in the world. Social credit system has been involved, and this keeps evolving. We're entering into a world now where they're taking away all of our money, and they are forcing us to use different sort of apps. How they're going to usher in this new digital currency. So as of the start of 2021, all the central banks around the world have put out a process to say that they'll be issuing a new digital wallet, right? Why are they issuing a new digital wallet? Who's going to take it? People go, I don't want a digital wallet. Why do I need a digital wallet for? I'm happy with my cash that I'm using. All the tradies out there, I don't want to use this digital wallet, I want my cash. But why are they issuing it? How do they get take up? Well, suddenly everyone's got to get, a jabby into their arm, right? And if you get a jabby, you can use this special money. We'll give you some benefit. You get $1,000 for being a good boy or girl because you got the jabby. And you can go and spend some money, sell us your data, and we have a new wallet that you install on your phone, and you get 4 $25 dine and wine vouchers in Sydney, and you can spend them wherever you want. But now you've entered yourself into the system, right? You've entered yourself into this system, and it's just ironic at the time that they're introducing all of these laws and changes and people aren't even questioning it. I don't want to go too deep in it because that's where I lose people. People start going, oh, Nathan's lost his mind again. But I'll still go into it. But, we're going into this world where the central banks are issuing us with these new digital wallets. We're being forced to use them. Soon you won't be able to go into a place or a premises without doing a check-in, the QR code, which is mandatory, right? It's mandatory throughout all businesses in New South Wales now. I've got every day for the last week, I've got an email saying that every business must check in and telling me that all my businesses need to have this check-in for whether it's staff or a visitor or whatever the case may be. But we're now in a world where we're conditioned to accept that we touch 2 phones together, or an FPOS machine in your phone, or your watch in your phone, and whatever the case may be. We're now at a point where we can go completely cashless, which is very, very scary, because if the government don't like you, they can turn your money off, right? Who's ever had their bank account seized for whatever reason, right? I haven't, but I've seen it happen, and I've heard the ramifications. I thought it sounds very terrible, right? But people do have their bank accounts seized. People can be thrown away and locked away in a cage, whatever the case may be, for doing nothing. If you're in China, you could walk across the road and jaywalk, right? Who hasn't jaywalked, right? I'm sure everybody does a lot worse things throughout the day, like not turning their blinker on when they turn into their street, or not turning their blinker on when they turn in their driveway, whatever the case may be. Things people do on a day-to-day basis. But now we've got these biometric cameras, which are everywhere, right? Go to your local shopping centre, go to your local large retailer, go to your local public transport. All the cameras are biometric, and they pick up very, very good information. They look at your face and they can identify who you are, your code, your system, how much money you got, all these different things. They've been rolled out in Australia. They started getting rolled out about 4 years ago. And they've been very, very big in China. You could literally cross the road as a jaywalker. From one side of the road, you walk across like it's Frogger. For those of you that are old enough to know what Frogger the computer game is, you get to the other side and you don't get hit by a car. Great. But when you get to the other side, it goes, you've been a bad boy or girl, and then they take $50 because that's your fine, right? You have no control. You're like, hang on a second. Where did my liberty go? Where did my freedom go? I'm just a person. I'm just a human walking across the road. These social credit systems, if you are bad, if you don't wear your mask, if you don't check in, if you don't comply, this is full-on communist, totalitarianism, fascism, and is a very, very ugly thing. But we're being ushered into this. I believe that we're going to have a digital currency which is on the back of all of these rules and regulations that we're finding out right now. And, they're taking us into a complete cashless society. And I believe that this will be done over the course of the next 10 years. When you have a cashless society, they can control the currency more. So what I mean by that is that if you wanted to cause a bank run, if you went to the bank, if everybody goes, I'm going to go to the bank today and pull out all my money, the bank would have no money, allegedly, because they work with the fractional reserve banking system, and then the bank would be in default. Right? So you'd have a thing called a bank run, which happened a lot of times in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. There was bank runs happening all the time because they just didn't have enough money to keep themselves liquid and keep themselves afloat. But if you couldn't take your money out of the bank, it's always trapped in the banking system, then you couldn't have a thing called a bank run. So what this means is as we head into the hyperinflation territory, they can put different measures into the currency. They can say, well, if you don't spend your money in 2 weeks, we'll delete it. If you have too much money in your bank account, we'll delete it. If we don't like you, we'll delete it. If we say that you've created a criminal act, we'll delete it, right? This is the world that we're heading into. It's a good way of tracking us, tracing us, chipping us, and controlling our movements to, for the betterment of who, right? Literally who. So if you ask me, it sounds like a very shitty system. It could be great for the ruling class, but it's bad for the peasants or the normal people, which is all of us. That's not the ruling and the elite powers. So I believe that there's it's not good for starters, and it's going to be given away as little freebies. If you want to get your JobKeeper, you're going to have to opt into it to get it from the system. If you want to get all the government will be giving away a lot of special little incentives, let's call it, for people to opt in, sign up, sell their data to, and are going to be basically third line forced into using this as a new system. They can tax you as they want. If you want to, who's ever had a problem go down and you've had to go to a government organisation and try and, work it out, right? Whether it's Medicare, whether it's dealing with your rego papers on your car, whether it's dealing with, Centrelink if you got that. Like, who's ever had to deal with that? The ring around, like you spend your whole day just trying to work out where did my $50 go, or why do I have to pay this $50? You end up just saying, oh, we'll just take it, whatever. That is the world. That is full-on control system. And that is the money that we're heading to. We're going to lose our currency. We're going to end that.